Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. Do you experience, voices in your head? And I'm not talking about the voices that, tell you to go out and kill somebody. I'm talking about the voices that say, hey, you're not worth it. You're not going to make it. The voices that wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I think everybody experiences that. We have an expert on our line right now. His name is Dr. Shad Helmstetter. He's an expert in positive self-talk. He's written 2 books, by the way, Negative Self-Talk and How to Change It, and Self-Talk for Self-Esteem. And he's also come out, I'm very proud of you for this, Doctor. You've come out with an app, and we'll talk about that app, a Self-TalkPlus app that you can find, I guess, is that on the Apple Store and also on the Android Store as well?
Yes, it is.
So let's talk about those voices that keep waking me the hell up at 2, 3, and 4 o'clock in the morning. Then I can't get back to sleep. What do I do about those?
Well, everybody has them. As a matter of fact, all of us get programmed from birth on. Our brain is designed to record everything we experience, everything we hear, and everything we say, and so on. And then anything that's repeated frequently, that actually gets wired into the brain. And it's what gets wired in, that ends up being the voice you're talking about.
Is that anything like muscle memory for the brain? If you're playing golf, they say that if you practice for 21 days, your swing gets better.
Yes, and that's very interesting because it's actually based on repetition. So the secret to success is repetition, but the secret to programming or then reprogramming your brain is also repetition.
So after hearing, from, say, abusive parents, not that they mean to be abusive, but Billy, you're not going to make it. You're not going to be good. You're not going to be successful. You hear that for 20 years. It's no wonder you're not successful.
Yeah, the statistics on that are that during the first 18 years of your life, if you grew up in a reasonably positive home, you were told no, or what you can't do, or what won't work, more than 148,000 times. And actually, I think that might even be a low number because a lot of those messages we got weren't even said out loud. Like that look you got at the dinner table when you reached for something you shouldn't, or the parent who didn't attend some event at school they maybe should have. But so the result is we get a lot of messages, and I think the important or the critical thing about this is that of all of those messages that get recorded in our brain, our brain doesn't know the difference between those messages that are true and the ones that are false. Our brain just is designed to act on the programs we have that are the strongest. So if we got told a lot what we can't do and what's not going to work, yeah, it's not a surprise that that's how we feel and that's how we think now.
How did you get interested in the self-talk? What motivated you to do that?
Yeah, I wanted to I wanted to study the field of psychology and in particular motivational behavior. And before that, I had been a linguist. I was a Spanish English interpreter for the United States government in Cuba during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So I understood how language works and how we learn our first language by hearing it spoken in the background and so on. So when I began to study human behavior and motivational psychology, it began to occur to me that what if we grow up thinking in a language, now maybe it's still English, the first language we learn, but what if we have a different vocabulary than people who are really successful? Do they actually think in different words and messages than we do? That turned out to be correct. So that's where my work and research in the area of self-talk began. I think just because I happened to be in in the field of linguistics. But as it turns out, we're now able to see what happens in the brain when we repeat something or when we hear something. And as it turns out, fortunately, I was correct when I first thought that this is like learning a language. It turns out that this is fascinating. People who think in the negative actually grow more neural networks in the right prefrontal cortex of their brain. And that's important because that's a part of the brain that makes us hide or flee or run or stop or not solve the problem. And on the other hand, people who think and speak in the positive, they actually grow more neural networks in the left prefrontal cortex of their brains, and that's the part of the brain that helps you seek solutions and find alternatives and take action and get things done. So you could actually say that success lives in that part of the brain. So the more you think in the positive, the more you use the right kind of self-talk, the more you're actually wiring that part of your brain to be stronger.
Those negative thoughts that pop into somebody's mind, you're dying, you're losing money, whatever those awful thoughts are that come in the middle of the night and wake you up and keep you up. What do you do for those?
Well, it's really a 2 or 3 step process if you really want to get rid of them. The first thing, of course, is to be aware of them. So to monitor your self-talk, listen to yourself, and actually pay attention to what you're thinking and what's going on in your at least in your conscious mind. We can't hear the subconscious, but we can hear the conscious. So the first step is to monitor, and so that's where you hear the good things you say, and that's where you hear the negative things you say. Then the second step is to edit. And editing takes a little practice, but anyone can do it. And that is, as soon as you're about to say or think something that works against you or something that's harmful, literally turn it around. I'll give you an example. People often say, I can't remember names, or I have the world's worst memory. And then they've been telling themselves that they can't remember names for 35 years, and then they go to an event and they meet somebody and they really want to remember that person's name, and then 10 seconds later the name is gone and they're going through the alphabet trying to remember what it was. And meanwhile their brain is saying, you've been telling me for 35 years that you can't remember names. I just did what you told me to. And that's exactly what the brain does. It's at that point
I tell you what we're going to do. Doctor, I tell you what we're going to do. You're going to come back in a few weeks, and we're going to go over the third step. And I want to we only have a couple of moments left. If you go to selftalkplus.com, you can find out more, and you can also learn more about the app. Does the app actually help you overcome these negative thoughts?
Yeah, and it works really well. You let self-talk play in the background, and it begins to rewire your brain in the positive.
Perfect. Listen, everybody, I want you to go to selftalkplus.com. That's selftalkplus.com. I'm gonna go on there later on. I'll get it, and I'll give a report in the next few weeks because everybody, as Dr. Helmstetter said, everybody does it. I'd like to see how it works. We're out of time. Will you come back?
I'd be happy to.
I look forward to that a lot. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. Don't go away, as more is coming up here on Late Night Help.